First time I've ever been introduced 4 times for one appearance. Do I? I hope you don't mind y'all sitting down here. We're just going to chill together, right? Which I think is kind of neat. So it's interesting when I think about this stuff, and I was having a conversation earlier. Can let Robert know if he can hear me. My voice is a little toast, so we may have to amplify it a little bit. Um, so the culmination of the Unity tour has pretty much everything that I've been blessed to be involved with in the last 4.5 years. It's a God thing, and it really is. And it's just I started paying attention a while ago to that first message that I get from the Creator, and it's served so well, so well. So a little bit less if you can, Bruce. So what happens is people would look at my history and businesses and sports and so on and so forth, and they would be like, "Oh, wow, he's just so successful." Not really, because my success was figuring out a way to put the square peg into the round hole. You know what I mean? So I forced and forced and forced. So I always won. I always made sure I was the number one, and I did it. But when I look at the journey there, I didn't have a clue what the journey was. I don't remember the journey. I just remember breaking, virtually every bone in my body and my mind and everything I could. And then at the end, I'm like, wow, I'm the champion. But where was the wonderful journey that goes along with that? And I realized not too long ago that the challenge is I wasn't listening to that first voice. And the first voice was always an indication of this is where you need to be. This is where you need to be. When I started to pay attention to that, there was no square peg round hole anymore. It was just like everything just flowed. Now, is it easy? No, it's never easy, right? Is it simple though? And it's always simple. And the answers are always simple, just like this right here. So I was very frustrated because I see a lot of crosstalk, patriot backstabbing, and so on and so forth. I want to preface this with many patriots that were online talking and exposing other patriots. I think that are we jumping in and out here? Test, 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 Robert. Ask Robert how it's sounding online, please. Cool. Appreciate it. No worries. So what happened is I was noticing a lot of stabbing at other patriots. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't justified, because there's a lot of things that they are not cool, and it is justified. But I looked at the overall outcome of this and where we are right now, and I really felt that this isn't the time and the place for that. I really, deep in my heart, I felt this is a time to unify because there's a bigger picture here. So I look and I go, what does the deep state do really well? They have a message, and everybody's behind the same message. Now, the difference is the deep state actors are, sheep in a way, where they're lemmings, where they just follow along and they just have to do whatever boss man, whoever their boss man is, whether that's Hillary Clinton or somebody else. I get it, boss man, Hillary Clinton. Oh, I crack myself up. So, anyways, so what's interesting though is they just follow along, and even though they're a lower percentage, we can call them whatever you want. You can call them liberals, Marxists, whatever. They're a lower percentage than patriots are. They're a lot louder and a lot more organized. So they appear like they're much, much bigger than the patriots are. Now, I think I diagnosed the reason for it because naturally, if you're a patriot or a conservative or somebody that believes in your sovereignty, you're probably a more independent character than other people, which is a wonderful thing. The challenge is sometimes that independence, there's also a little ego involved, and we're not willing to link arms with somebody that may not be on the same page with us. And I understand that. So what I did is I said, okay, how can we galvanize patriots across the world even? Can we get behind these 4 things? Does that make sense? Are we at least with this? And if these answers are yes, then I say, okay, can we put our differences aside until after we take care of this business, because this is priority right here, and then let's work it out. And if you want to expose everybody, and that's fine, I get it, totally understand. But let's just get through this. Let's take back our republic the way it should be, and break it down. Probably we're going to have to get rid of 90%, right? Which would be phenomenal. We'll have about 10% left, and let's build it the way it's supposed to be built from the foundation. So, anyways, my goal is to get people behind these four things, and I think it's very, very divine, because when I've talked to several patriots, even ones as of late that may have some contentious challenges with me because I'm very outspoken, right? We're coming together now because I just asked them this question. Do you agree with this, and absolutely. So let's put any differences aside and let's take care of business. And the response that I'm having is fantastic. So it's really cool. It's really cool. And the other thing this does is it kind of pressures the ones that may not be on the same page. Maybe they're motivated differently. Maybe they're controlled opposition. Maybe they're not good guys. It pressures them in a way that they either step on or they will expose themselves because they're supporting this type of message. So I'm very proud of that, the way it's working in regards to that. How are we doing on the mic? You're talking to him right now? Is that Robert? Oh, hold it far enough. Can he still hear me? Excellent. Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks, Robert. Thank God for Robert Imbrali. He's always in studio, making sure I look a hell of a lot better than I do. Thanks, Robert. So, anyways, so we're getting some very, very positive response there. And Bruce and I had a talk, and then Andrew jumped in. The size of the groups that we're attending really are inconsequential. We're in a beautiful one in Plano that had a huge group, but it was beautiful because the people were there, the type of people that were there, and she had an amazing art gallery and just great people, right? And then there was I don't know, probably a couple hundred people there. It was a lot. And then we were at one where it's pretty funny. On the way there, we were getting, and I have it on my phone, a emergency alert that everybody should stop driving unless it's an emergency, pull over because of the weather. And one person ended up showing up to that event, and there wasn't a drop of rain while we were there. Not a drop, one person. So, and people, I guess they heeded the warning. I understood, right? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because that one person was so special. And I feel like she's definitely a person that you drop that pebble in the water and it spreads out and the waves just cascade out there, right? So God puts us in these places for a particular reason, and you're here for a particular reason. And everybody shows because they're supposed to be here. Now, Texas is interesting, though. On Friday, a bunch of people showed. On Saturday, football day, not so many, right? Right? So it's very interesting. So even people that are awake are still subject to bread and circus, aren't they? Right? And that's where we are today. It's we have to look at our priorities. And I mean, I played sports virtually my whole life. I mean, I was in semi-pro baseball into my 30s. So, but I understand now a little bit more than I did then. And there's some things I'm like, oh, so I would ask any of y'all that are watching a lot of football and baseball and doing a lot of extracurricular, I want to just ask them a question because, we'll get tens of thousands of people online. And that question really is this: are you going to have all those things if we lose our republic? I don't think so. So maybe postpone pleasure, right? And let's get the work done. That's the way I'm looking at it, because I can tell you now, if things continue to go at the rapid pace they have been going, a year from now, football what? Right? There won't be anything. People are going to be scrambling for their next meal. Now, I think there's good and bad ahead of us. In fact, I'm one of those probably the only really weirdo I'm out there that believes that we have good things happening in the background and there's bad things that are happening at the same time. And it seems like for some reason people feel like they have to choose one or other. Black pill city, we're done. Or no, everything's a movie. There's nothing bad happening whatsoever. And I stepped back one time and I said, let's be pragmatic. Can it be both? Because we are in a war. Are we not? Are we in a war? Okay, so do we think that a control mechanism that's been around for 1,000 years is just going to roll over? But they're just going to go, hey, Trump, you're right. I'm out of here, right? I'm done. You're right. No big deal. Let's just let it go. You just take all my castles in Europe and all my beachfront property here, and don't worry about it. I never want to touch a kid again, right? No, I'm good. Just go ahead, President Trump. Just you got this. They're not going to do that. They're going to fight tooth and nail to the last drop, right? So the reality, in my reality, is I believe both are going on at the same time. I do believe we have a great military operation going. I had confirmation of that, thank God, from somebody that they just saved almost 1,000 kids on the West Coast, right? And it was the Navy SEALs that did it. Now, there's a bad side of that story, too. Has anybody seen my movie Cages? Okay. Because the Navy didn't have, at that one base that they were at, they didn't have a place to store them and take care of them, right? So they put them over to a church property, and the church was cool. But CPS was trying to get the kids from the naval base. They wouldn't give them up, but they tracked them and found out that they were at this church, and then they came in and scooped them all up. So is there good and bad going on at the same time? Clearly, I mean, if that's not a clear example, I don't know what is. Now, what I'm hoping, though, is maybe that the good guys have already taken over CPS, and now they're in good hands. So that would be a blessing for sure. And I know that's something that can't be disclosed yet because we have to work on this stuff. What we do know, I think we can all agree now on something that we might not have agreed on 4 years ago. If Trump would have been in office in 2020, I don't believe that we would be restoring our republic. I think we would have fell back into it in about 10 years or less because we hadn't learned the lessons. We haven't exposed the right things. And guess what? We, the people, weren't vested in the outcome. And we have to admit, we really weren't invested in the outcome until after 2020. As a whole, of course, some individuals are, but as a whole, we were definitely not vested in the outcome. In fact, we were watchers, not doers, right? But I'm quite sure that we were all accountable in where we are today, in somehow. Now, not responsible. I'm not saying anybody's fault for all the satanic stuff in Hollywood, but the fact that we kind of turned a blind eye or we focused on our work or whatever we did, right, is part and parcel of the problem. So I believe now, though, if I ask people about it in 2024, and they're like, yeah, we needed to go through this. It was painful. It really sucks, right? But we needed to go through this to get ourselves to the point where we said we will not take it anymore. Would we agree with that? And that's where I feel like we're right now. So now that we won't take it anymore, we have to convince our friends and family to not take it anymore, right? Because I know how many people have been labeled crazy by friends and family, right? Okay, there you go. It's a lot, everybody. So what happens is one of the challenges, I know a lot of people were very, very passionate. So they did something at the beginning of this movement called truth barfing. Right. And that means, so for example, you watch a whole bunch of videos over a weekend, and then next thing you know, your daughter walks in the house. Hey, Mom, how's it doing? You go, oh, my gosh. So there's this thing called adrenochrome, right? And they do this and this and this and this. And the towers that fell, that was George Bush did that himself. And da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And the reptilians, oh my God, am I right? So then your family and friends were like, what is she smoking? No? Am I wrong? So I, and by the way, I have been guilty of that once or twice, and I saw the reactions. I'm pretty good at reading people. And I saw the reactions, and they're like this, and at first they're like, and then they're in, they're saying this with their eyes. Wow, he's batshit crazy, right? And then they're like, then they do what? And you've all seen this. They check out, and they drift off while you're talking, right? But what do we do? And another thing, right? So what I've developed a really cool skill set of acclimating people to the truth. And I believe God has always taught us just to plant a seed anyways. I just wasn't taking my own advice probably a few years ago. So what's interesting and fun, I've noticed when we acclimate people to the truth, they come back wanting more. But it has to be a slow seed, and you have to read the room. You have to see what's palatable for them when we're having the discussion. Because one of my wife's best one that's really palatable for them now is talking about the poison in the food. Many people are opening their minds to the poison in the food. The one I use is I talk about the fact that our calendar is a lie. Has anybody heard that one before? So I believe we should be on a 13-month calendar, but certainly different from the one we're on. I've already proved that our current calendar is an absolute lie, unequivocally. There's no doubt about it. The numbers say it. And I'll just say it really quick for anybody at home that doesn't know. September is in Latin is sept, which is 7. October is 8. November is 9. And deca is 10. Well, that's funny. That's not the way it is, because that should be 7, 8, 9, 10th month, and it's actually 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th month. So clearly it was manipulated right there. That is blatant, and I can go on forever on that one. It's really fun. So I kind of use that with people, and then they go, wow. They're like, why would they do that? And now they're asking questions, right? And they'll go, well, and then we go into something else, and now you can acclimate them to the truth. You find something palatable. Another one I used to use a lot, and it's really, really effective, is on 9/11. Because everybody recognizes 9/11. They talk about 9/11, especially when we're coming to right now. Everybody talks about the anniversary because they need to try to steal our luge again. So everybody's gonna be talking about all through the news. They'll be showing the towers falling and getting the fear going in us. That's just the way the mainstream media is set up to MK Ultra everybody. I know I should be wearing my tinfoil hat right now. But anyways, so what I'd like to tell people is it's very, very simple. If they're interested in the 9/11 conversation, which most of them will go there, and just say, did you know that Tower 7 fell? Many people don't even know that. They literally don't even know that Tower 7 fell. And what? I go, yeah. Tower 7 fell. And go, wow. And if they did know it, you go, did you know it was on fire for like 8 hours before it fell? Really? Did you know a plane never hit the tower? Wait, it fell and the plane never hit the tower? No. In fact, the closest tower that fell was 300 feet away from it, a whole football field. Did you know that? No. Did you know there was a building between the tower that fell and Tower 7? No. You know what the weirdest thing is? Did you know in Britain on television, they told us that it fell 20 minutes before it actually fell? We have proof. What? Crazy, right? That's how you can acclimate people to conversation. Very slow. And here's what's interesting. The beautiful thing about questions, when you ask a question to somebody, they always answer it truthfully in their head. They may not answer truthfully out loud to you because there's an ego involved, but they always answer truthfully in their head. So asking questions are extraordinarily powerful. Extraordinarily powerful. What's that? Socratic method, right. So it's very, very important to work within their character and their traits instead of us trying to do what we really want to do. And I just want to stick a fire hose in their mouth and say, you know what I mean? That's what I want to do, because then the reality, we would never be in this situation in the first place. But ultimately, I really feel like there's been a massive manipulation, and I'm not going to say it's on purpose. Do you ever hear of that thing called Q? right? There's some very great information in Q. I believe Q is part of the huge awakening that we're in right now. But people that take the message of Q sometimes manipulate it to their own favor. The biggest one that I know manipulated was there is something in the Q drops called trust the plan. That exists. That exists. But really, what is trust the plan? I don't think it's what we were told it was. I really don't think it was, let's go get a little froggy mask and put it on our face and let's just eat popcorn all day long and watch everything go on and not participate. It's not. Because if you really diagnose and break down the Q drops, with my friend Ethan Lucas helped me do this, if you do that, you notice that trust the plan is you. We, the people, are the plan. We, the people, need to step up. The reality, my reality, I should say, is God's already done the work, right? But we need to ante up and kick in, and then we're going to reap the harvest, right? So that means, which I think is really cool and frustrating at the same time, that means we, the people, we completely control the timeline of when this is over. Think about that. It's 100% on our shoulders. Well, we got us here, so we need to own it and get us out of here, right? So the question is, how fast can we do it? And the good news is I think it's accelerating. The bad news is it is painful, and it's more painful, we have to admit, on the people that are awake than the people that are asleep. The people that don't know, they don't know, right? But if you're awake, you see everything. And when you start seeing this stuff, you're like, oh, my Lord, I cannot believe what's going on. And please, please end this. Please, please take care of the children. Stop this. God, please stop this. Right? 7 years. Yeah. 7 years of knowing, but 1,000 years of them doing. And that's what's amazing. So we are definitely in biblical times right now. I believe, though, we the people. Now, Ethan was very nice. He said, what I do is the modern day ecclesia. And I got to be honest. He said, I'm like, I don't know what that means. Right. And I had to look it up. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Thank you. That was pretty cool. So anyways, I believe it's true, though, that we're all gathering together and we're finding our family is really what it is. And I can tell you unequivocally that I'm closer to many, many people that I've met in the last few years than I am to my own family members. Not all of them, but many of them, right? And then it likens to this. What have we been taught? All these little sayings. Blood is thicker than water. Well, it is if you're part of the 13 families, isn't it? Right? To them, blood is thicker than water. They don't care about anything except their own bloodlines. That's just the way it is. So if they keep saying blood is thicker than the water, what you do is, no matter how much of a shitbag a family member is, right? You tend to lift them up or support them or sometimes enable them, even though they're a bad person. Does anybody have somebody in your family that you're like, that's just not a good person? Right? We do, right? And we continue to enable them, but you would never put up with that from somebody you met on the streets, right? Now, should you give your family a little bit extra and more motivation and some help and support? Well, yeah, 100%. But I'm saying there is some times where we need to say, okay, they're not getting it. And it's okay to create a family outside of the family. And I have found that I know there's people, in fact, Bruce and I were talking about this, and this really humbles me. I was going through, I go, wow, what if something happened to our house? And honey, I'm not trying to manifest this, but like, what if our house blew up and we weren't there? I started to think about it. I'm like, would anybody take myself and my family, my dogs and everybody that's there? And I was so blessed to think of it. Virtually every state, I know somebody that would say, come on, right away. Yes, it's amazing. Now, how many of them are my family? 0. And I can tell you a few of my family members would say, hell no, figure it out. So this is why I think we need to re-educate ourselves a little bit, because we've been indoctrinated on very, very many things. How many times have people heard sticks and stones will break your bones, but names will never hurt you? Right? It's interesting. I've learned that names hurt a lot. You know what I mean? Especially if your family members or friends are calling you names, right? It can be very, very hurtful, but it's another indoctrination that we've heard. Now, on the truth side, though, it really did. That saying helped me because I was bullied as I was a kid until 11, right? But the reality is, I would say that in my mind as a mantra, but it was so painful that things, because I was extraordinary. My mom and I were extraordinarily poor. I mean, so I would wear, in fact, I don't know if you guys could see it on camera, but my pants would be up to here just because we couldn't afford to get me pants that were down to here. Right. So I was called Floods. They used to call me Floods. And my mom would take a jean patch and sew it on a corduroy pants. So they would call me Patches, and I was a really, really skinny. So they call me Pinnard. I mean, I remember all these names and I was beat up every day from 7 to 11 by 3 or 4 kids that were a lot older than me. They kicked my ass every single day. But my point is, so names can hurt you, but we were always convinced it's not, right? I believe there's so many sayings that we have heard that are actual manipulations to control us in a different one. And one of the biggest ones, and I probably will say this every day because I'm so passionate about this. Has anybody been to a Christian church? Okay. So there's a beautiful, beautiful scripture that I believe has been misinterpreted by 90% of the churches on purpose as a control mechanism. And that's Matthew 5:5. Matthew 5:5 is, does anybody know Matthew 5:5? Okay. The meek shall inherit the earth. So we've been conditioned to think through churches that meek is docile, weak, we can't really do anything. Well, did you know Jesus called himself meek? That dude was not docile and weak, right? He was about as strong as it comes. He's like, yeah, put me as you believe, because I know there's debates about all this. So I'm not getting into a religious conversation. I'm getting into the conversation of how wonderful things can be manipulated for control. This is the perfect example of that. So if you really study the origins of meek, it means strong. It means somebody that fights for somebody else, somebody that stands up in the face of adversity. Now, imagine if they explained to us what meek meant when they said it to us in church. Bam. Now they don't have somebody they control all of a sudden. Isn't that interesting? They teach us to stand up for ourselves, think for ourselves, strong, fight for others. We see something going wrong with the pastor or something, we're going to say, hey, we're not good with that. But the meek that they taught us, we're like, okay, things will work themselves out. God will take care of us. We're waiting. And then you hear the story, the wonderful story of the guy that was drowning, right? God sent him a canoe. God sent him a dolphin. God sent him a boat. God sent him a raft. And then he gets up there and he's like, I believed in you, God. I can't believe you didn't try to take care of me because I sent you a boat. I sent you a canoe. I sent you a dolphin, a raft. What else do you want, right? So we're in extraordinary times now because I believe the Great Awakening is not what we're told it is. I believe that we're told the Great Awakening is figuring all the crazy bad stuff. I don't think it is. I think the true awakening is between your temples. I think that's the true awakening, where we start to get our power back. We, the people, hold all the power. And to take our power back, forget about that. Think about internally. When we take our power back, we're taking back our own mind, because really we gave our mind in some essences to the cabal. Think about that. It's pretty heavy, but that's what we did. We literally said, here you go. You got this. We work the standard 8 to 5 job because we're told to work the 8 to 5 job. We only take weekends off because we only deserve to take 2 days off a week, right? We buy groceries with poison in it because, that's what they have, and they tell us it's good for us. We take pharmaceutical drugs because we're supposed to take big pharma, right? And then we say, well, it does have 10 side effects. That's all right. We got another drug for you and another drug for you and another drug for you. Okay, I guess that's just the way it's supposed to be. I'll have to be on all these drugs my whole life, right? We believe the government because the government is the smart ones. I mean, all these things are indoctrination. Reality is that when we take our own mind back and we find a way to cleanse our pineal gland, clean up our pituitary system, and resonate and discern at the highest level, is it an accident that the deep state cabal, these Satanists, they lose all their power when we resonate at the highest level? So is it an accident that we have chemicals in our water? Is it an accident that chemicals are in our food? Is it an accident that it's in our air? Is it an accident that Big Pharma is really not there to take care of you? Is it an accident that there's 20,000 crazy marketing messages around that stir your head? Is it an accident that we're getting exactly Democrat view, Republican view? That's the only two views that are possible. Red, blue, conservative Republican, conservative Democrat, right? Is it an accident? No, it's intentional. It's all to F with us. Is it an accident that they gave us a new calendar? Thank you, Pope Gregory, right? Here's your new calendar. Enjoy that one. Is it an accident? I don't think it is. I think it's wholly intentional. And my belief system is it's because they know that we can do something they can't, right? We are creators. Every one of us are creators and amazing artists, right? And we can do something I believe the bad guys can't. We can manifest. They can't. Manifestation is absolutely huge. When you start working with inside the quantum field, which, by the way, is God's work, so I'm not separating the two. That's God's work. But when you work with inside the quantum field and you learn how to manifest your own reality, it's incredible what you can create. So if you're a bully and you can't manifest, you don't create, and you're not artistic, but you have a lot of power and you're very intelligent, because that's the one thing I think that we do wrong. We think the deep state Satanists aren't smart. No, they're real fucking smart. Excuse my language. They are highly intelligent, and you must know your enemy if you're going to defeat your enemy. They are highly intelligent. But I do not believe they can manifest, create, and I don't believe they're very artistic. So what do? They have to use people to get there, right? So what do? The reason why they're so embedded in Hollywood is they find people that are very artistic. The reason why they're all throughout the art world is they find people are very artistic, and they control them for their needs. And they also control them so they won't get the word out to us what's really going on, because they know people that are artistic generally have a better discernment, so they really go after them and attack them, right? Very creative. We're very creative. We're the inventors, and that's why they suppressed over 6,000 patents, because we are the inventors, and they can control us if they can keep the good stuff. Think about that. So the only patents we see are things that are not useful to them. Do you think the patent process was to protect us, or it was to give them the information for free? Everything's twisted. It's upside down. It's Freemason 101. It's all complete inversion. And then manifestation. Manifestation is huge. And they are phenomenal manifestors. They just don't do it themselves. We manifest for them. They predict a program. They give us fear. Whatever they want to create is in front of us. Therefore, if they want bad things to happen, they're showing us constant, all the movies of the things that they want to happen. It's always in the news. It's constant. It's MK Ultra 101, right? And therefore, what do? We manifest for them. Because I'm going to ask you a question right now. Do not think of a pink lizard. Of course, we thought of a pink lizard when I said that, right? Because our minds are so beautiful, but we cannot retract. We can only attract to our minds. So they also understand that. So what do? They put the images in front of us all the time because we're attracting it to our minds, and therefore we are their computer, and we manifest and we create for them. See how sinister it is? But understanding it is so powerful. And that's the cool thing. When we can understand it and teach other people these lessons, bam, their whole world opens up, right? And they're like, okay, I'm the creator, I'm the artist, I'm the manifester. They have no power. You completely emasculate the deep state satanic cabal, and they are satanic, but you completely emasculate them when we understand how incredibly powerful we are. So, what is this? Bruce, you want to come help me with this? I'm going to stand up for this one. You guys all good? You want to take a break? Okay. Well, we got a kind of a one loud no and a half a no. We can take a break if you want. Oh, okay. You online, we're debating about a break. So let's take a 5 minute break, fix fans. Yeah, yeah. Actually, you could just turn it off. I think we're all cool enough in here right now. Are we good? We good? Okay, cool. Cool like a cucumber. So hey, Robert, go to a song or fill time in there if you can. Exactly. I'm going to do a tap dance.
Looks to me as if they're not quite ready yet, although they are sitting on camera. So, hey, there's a lot going on. The communication's a little bit tough sometimes with the live versus being here in the studio in San Diego, and they're in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hey, they're going to be in California later this week. So those of you who are coming to San Diego, I'll be there. I will be at the event live. I'd love to see you. I'd love to shake your hand, give you a hug, and hear from you, see what's going on in your world. It'd be interesting to see Californians, how we're Gosh, I keep thinking that we are more conservative than is apparent, and you look at some of the posts sometimes on Facebook, and it's like, wow, there's a lot of people who are buying into the Harris scam here. So it's a little bit perplexing. But I think it's just a lot of the times the conservatives are more quiet. We're not as vocal because we don't like the attacks. The other side attacks, and they're very evil in their attacks. So we kind of, yeah, we don't need to be playing in that game. We know where we stand. We know what we're about. We know what we're doing, and we keep going that way, and not, playing to the, putting ourselves in the buzzsaw, if you will. There's no reason to do it, right? It doesn't really matter. It's not, never going to change these people's minds. The hardcore, and you're not going to change their minds no matter what you do. They have to change their mind, and a lot of them are. And I think there's a lot to see there. Did you see Elton John endorse Donald Trump? I think, wow, that's cool. And now The Rock comes out and he's endorsing Donald Trump. This is good stuff. This is all good news. So you look forward to the transition, if you will, of people who are lifelong Democrats coming over to our side now. Thank you, RFK, for seeing the light, if you will, and realizing that his dream is to have an impact on the health of the country, our physical health, and he wasn't able to do that running for president on his own. The Democrat Party wanted no part of him, so he found a path forward in that by being on the Trump team. And I think it really, he had to swallow a lot of pride. Listen, you have to, right? You're a lifelong Democrat. Your family's the Democrat, and he had to swallow a lot of pride to be able to literally step into, hey, I'm supporting Donald Trump, and have his family disown him, literally. But he's got a bigger vision, a much bigger vision. Man, I could see him at the FDA, or Health and Human Services (HHS), and really taking it to everyone and saying, "Hey, we're not going to play this game anymore, and we're going to go into this in a new way, and we're going to get rid of." Somebody posted this morning. I'm looking at the scheme. I'm getting audio from the team. Okay, maybe we're back. Maybe we're going live again. Here, let's check it out. Back to Albuquerque, New Mexico we go.
Mm-hmm.
And on the wall right outside of it, whatever it's called, I can't remember. I should there's a big old swirly,
Mm-hmm.
swirly thing. So it's
Yep.
like
They're telling them what's going
telling
on.
them they need to do that
Yep.
program, or what is it? Manipulating them.
So let's talk about that too, because that's a good conversation to have.
And it's a local situation.
Remember those two conversations. Those are amazing for what we're going to be talking about. Are we ready to go, Andrew?
So,
How's our mic sound?
yeah, you're on.
Our mic sound good?
We'll check it out here.
Hello.
Are we?
Hello. I love you. Won't you tell me your name?
Oh, he does. Oh, he's amazing. He's a great singer too. There,
No.
is that Rumble?
I'm listening live.
On Rumble? Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's go.
I can't dance and I don't play an instrument.
Cool. So, folks, what you at home?
You mute that.
Yeah, let's mute that one. Awesome. So you at home, we've decided we're going to have fun and we're going to have random topic hour where we're going to whatever comes up in the audience and they want to talk about, and it could be spaceships. I don't really care. Whatever we want to talk about. So I know there's a couple ones. Let's start with. You want to get her a microphone, Andrew? You're gonna have to do a mic run. Just know you're on camera
just
too.
pass along. Just make sure that just leave it on. It'll be fine.
Probably would be better just to be behind
Give it to
them
Becky.
and hand them the. Becky's over here, right here.
Hello.
Yes, right.
Okay, Becky.
Okay, so my question was that I was wondering if it was important to become a sovereign citizen at this point, because moving forward, if Mr. T gets in office and we go on,
Who's Mr. T?
Mr. Trump,
That guy.
and even if he doesn't, depending on what happens, if the corporation is no longer the United States corporation is no longer, and we're reforming the republic, is it an important thing to become sovereign at this point?
Amazing question. And since I'm going to get in trouble with this, I'll let Bruce go first.
Well, this is my viewpoint. You can just hold that. This is my viewpoint. Unpopular as it might be, that's the name of my show. Unpopular, but I say my answer to that question is no, because we are already sovereign. We are born that way. Our status has never changed in the eyes of God and everywhere else. It's the evil one's perception of our status and how they treat us, right? So when this all came about, a year or two ago, the state national sovereign, blah blah blah. A friend of mine went through the whole process, got everything that whole process, and later I think she's regretting it, doing it. And then I'm thinking, I'm already so it's just making a decision in your mind for talking about getting connected with yourself and what's our power in this movement. Making that decision, if you just decide in your head, in your mind, and your heart, I'm sovereign. These people don't have any jurisdiction over me. I'm already there. I'm in that space. Start living and walking in that. The weight that's lifted, the freedom, some empowerment, some confidence. It's all in our head. So if you just make that decision, yes, I'm a sovereign citizen. There ain't nothing they can do to me, except if they want to. They can take away my birthday. But hey, I'll probably be better off on the other side from that. I don't think you need to file any paperwork and get permission or anything like that. That's my opinion.
So it's interesting because I agree, by the way, but you said something that'll get you heat. And you said sovereign citizen, because they're going to say language matters, so on and so forth. You can't call yourself a citizen. And there's a lot to that, actually, because the spell casting is through our Babylonian language, and that's the English language. That is Babel. If anybody really wants to study it, it'll blow you away. Everything it's a Druidic thing, and it literally comes from Druids, and the way they built the language is absolutely upside down and backwards on purpose. So there is a lot to saying the words properly. I don't go too into it, like understand. Oh, what is it? Understand. But there is a lot to it. But in regards to the sovereign movement, because that's really what it is, it's really connected to common law theory. And the reality is we should be under natural law, call it common law. I guess some people do. I think there could be a distinction there sometimes. But the reality is we are born sovereign. Just because somebody stamped our feet, did everything illegal, captured our name, and in essence put us on a ship, right? And doesn't mean we're not sovereign because they did it. I just reject it. I frankly feel like right now we have to play with 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the system because the reality is we are all in the system no matter how unless we decide to live in a yurt somewhere by ourselves. We are part. Even if you live in a tent, you're part of the system.
How about in New Mexico, the Earthships, where it's sustainable living?
Right. So it's even if we live in a tent, we're living in the system because who built the tent? What chemicals did they use to build a tent? Was it built in China? I mean, we can go on and on and on and on. It was little kids that built the tent. So nobody's really out of the system, even though they say they're out of the system. The ideas are correct, in my opinion. We have to live free and we have to be sovereign and we have to own it. I don't think paperwork does that for us. And the question that gets me in a lot of trouble with that movement is I say, show me the fruits. So what is different in your life now that you did the paperwork? I've heard a lot of people get in trouble. A lot of people have issues and they can't vote anymore, which I know that's an issue right there. Well, maybe we shouldn't be voting under this corporate system. They can't get a driver's license, right? And they still, when they get pulled over, they get in trouble. They lose their cars and everything like that. So you kind of have to play in the system a little bit. I believe, this is just my opinion, right? I believe what they're doing is with good intent, and that's where we need to be. But let's think about something President Trump says all the time. And I'm actually shocked that people don't see this. And I think we don't see it is because we tend to be conditioned by Freemason edict to be black and white. It's got to be this or it's got to be that. When there's a whole hue of colors in the middle of it that we don't see sometimes because we're so set in our ways. Trump says often, we must do this legally and lawfully. Legally is the corporate way. Lawfully would be the constitutional common law way. He's saying it. I think he's given us an indication of you kind of have to work both systems at the same time in order for us to do what? To transition out of it. So if we just stomp our foot today and say we're common law, if I did that today, but if I'm going to own it, I'm going to get rid of all my credit cards. I'm going to get rid of everything. If I'm going to own it, I wouldn't be here today with you guys because I couldn't if I was going to be authentic to what it really is. So a title, piece of paper, to me doesn't really matter. Now, somebody asked about the land patent. I've studied a little bit about that. Our friend Gina studied a lot about that. And that seems like there's something to it, actually. That seems like it's reasonable. It seems like it may give you some protections. So I'm not going to poo-poo that for sure. And I'm not going to poo-poo writing common law language when speaking to a court. In fact, I'm the single advocate of the following. If you want to address a court in their corporate legal realm, do it the way they need it done, but do it with common law language. And that's how we transition into our grand juries. And that's how we transition in everything we want. So to end this part of the conversation, unless you want to continue it, one of the biggest pet peeves, but I'm starting to have a lot of the top common law people really come around to this thinking. So one of my biggest pet peeves is they're like, I have a grand jury. We've indicted blah, 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 blah. Fantastic. What are you going to do about it? I can tell you last time I was in Albuquerque, I had a guy come up and he says, I'm sheriff here. I go, great. Are you arresting anybody? Are you holding anybody accountable? No. I go, well, why not? So it's a title. You declared yourself sheriff, right? So it's the same exact thing here. So the people that have these grand juries, I think it's fantastic. I think they're trying their best, and I get it. Where's the teeth? Are you arresting anybody? Are you putting them in jail? Are you testing the corporate law system by putting them in jail? I just had I can't say who it is. I can tell you that she's very, very well known. And 2 days ago, I had this exact conversation. And I said, here's the deal. Until you put an actual jail on private land, in fact, Scott McKee and I talked about this also. I said, until you put an actual jail on private land, maybe surround it with a militia, whatever you need to do to protect it, go through your own grand jury, they can have their peers, of their peers, and arrest somebody and put them in that jail and then see what the ramifications are from the deep state. That's the test. I'm not saying it's going to be comfortable, but if you really want to test these, they're just theories now. They're not facts until it's tested. Now, the wonderful thing is if we do it, and I think we can do it, and it's successful, guess what's going to happen? Every single county within a month will have this dialed in and ready to go. And that's a game changer. But we have to be able to put ourselves out there. And anybody that's watching now, anybody that's in the common law, writs, affidavits, writing this stuff up, grand juries, whatever it is, I'll support you if you're willing to actually get a jail, house the people properly, and do it. Because that's the key right there, is you have to have teeth, in my opinion, in order for us to be successful in taking it to the next step. So, to answer your beginning of your question at the end, you were asking if Trump is really taking down the system and turning it back to a republic, do we even need the paperwork? No. I've been saying this for so many years. I think on 8 years now, I've been saying, no, you don't need the paperwork then if that's the case, because aren't we already sovereign in our own mind? I choose to be, right? If we're back to the way the republic is supposed to be, the way it was formed, we're automatically sovereign overnight. And that upsets a lot of people because they put so much effort into this. And they're like, how dare Lewis say that, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm just trying to tell what I believe is the truth, right? And I know it affects people's memberships and all this stuff, but it's not about that. It's just like, what's best for we the people? So I believe that we have to work together. In fact, I'm working with some common law people right now that having these discussions, and they're open to these ideas. They're starting to kind of get that, yeah, maybe we do have to do it legally and lawfully to transition in, because what they have done really hasn't worked out. You know what I mean? They went after, in fact, Mickey Klon, I think, would tell you with Bonds to the Wind, they had some success. It looks going in the right direction. And then the whole deep state satanic cabal figured one thing out. They're like, we just won't respond. They all got the message within a month, and all of them just didn't. Now she has more information than this, right? But then they just didn't respond. And now they're like, now what do we do? Right? Yeah. They just said we just don't respond to you. So if they don't respond, what do we need? We need a real grand jury. We need a real jail. We need to hold them accountable.
We need the sheriff. We need the law enforcement.
And we need law enforcement.
Actually,
right. Blah, blah, blah. They pretty much are in now. They're about as in your face as they've ever been, right? The Republicans, you have a good set of Republicans, and then you have the lying Republicans. The lying Republicans are the ones pretending to fight for the elections as much as they can, but they never do the most obvious things. They always say, oh, well, we had to compromise, or we had to do this, or we had. It's not true. And I'll end with this because it's so important it goes together. The most important elections are not the general and the main elections. Those are worthless elections. The primaries are the most important elections because the deep state cabal spends all their time and resources getting their rhino in there because they already know they control the Democrat. So if they can get their rhino in there, the vote is rhino versus Democrat. They don't care at that point. They need to spend no resources on that election. They can say, hurrah, you got a Republican in there. Good job. They already know that Republican's in the pocket, right? So I brought this up to Dr. Doug Frank, and he wholesale agreed with me. He goes, that's right. All our focus should be on the primaries.
All of our focus should be on the primary. What do we average? Like 27% showing up to vote in the primaries, and 60-some% the generals are all the generals are done. Just so we understand that the generals are inconsequential. Now, maybe for president, like if you have a Trump running, but I'm sorry if you have a Bush running, a Romney, a McCain, or another Bush, or even a Ford, they've already got their guy. It doesn't matter. And they played a game with us when it was Bush v. Gore. They didn't give a damn which one it was, right? But what they did is they got us all freaking out, spun out, not thinking. So it was an opportunity. That's when they can manipulate us the most, because then they're fighting against each other. We're divided. Oh, hanging Chad, yeah, boom, 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 back and forth. It's crazy. So the primaries are the most important. I really want to impress on people that getting people out for the primaries. But the good news is, if you're say a patriot, conservative, whatever you want to call yourself, and you're really active in trying to get people to come out and vote, right? You can have this conversation with them about the primaries, and you're going to see, I believe personally, you're going to see a huge amount of people come out for the primaries to make sure they put their name behind the guy that's not the rhino, right? It's tough. It's not easy. We have a lot of work to do, but I don't have a clue how that transitioned into this, but it gives you, and it is. I will say a nod to all the common law folks. I get, like many of them are saying, why even vote? Because you're voting within a corporate structure. I totally get that. I think this time is unprecedented right now, though, and I think we need to bring so many people out this time, and we'll talk about how we have some safeguards in regards to this election that may be pretty interesting to you also. Again, it's all free. Everything we do is free. Now there is a huge Republic movement right now, right? And there's several of them out there. There's one I'm looking at just a little closer. I'm not going to tell anybody what it is because I'm scrutinizing it right now, and it looks like it may have something to it. So, but we'll see. I can't tell you. No, I won't. I won't say. I don't think it's fair because I'm scrutinizing it right now. Now, I will say though, as soon as if I decide to support it, I'll come out publicly and I'll say, hey, this one makes a lot of sense. But I really have to dive into something before I put my name on it. I mean, Robert and I have had over 200 products come across our desk, and I think we promote 4 or 5 of them, and just because we just won't do it unless I think it's the best.
His name is Jim Turner, I believe. He's an older gentleman. He must be in his 70s now. He's been working on the Republic for 30 years. He was jailed for 10 years for what he was doing. 10 years in a maximum security. And he's still doing it. He's out, obviously, and still doing it. So to me, that gave him a lot of cred.
I agree. I totally agree.
And it sounds kind of exciting.
Yeah, there's something good out there. I think. I'm investigating currently though.
Good.
With all my ample extra time.
Since we're a border state, I'm kind of confused on who's really coming through. Are there a lot coming through? Not as many as we think are coming through, but also what happens after the election if there are a lot coming through? What are we doing with all these people?
Hey, don't do that. So it's a good question. I'll let you finish up on this. I just want to touch on one thing because I was directly involved with people that were talking about how they can help bring attention to the border, and an actual border warrior that really has a whole team and been working on there for a long time. He's well funded, does a great job. I was noticing, if you remember, when Texas verbally said they're going to go shut down their border on their own, right? We thought it was a good thing. And I was the sole voice out there that said, be careful. And they said, why? I go, because they gave you over a month's notice that they were going to do it. So what they did is they intentionally signaled the cartel to say, move your operation. We need to look like we're doing something. Right? So it really pissed me off. And it's very boisterous on our news channel. And everybody's like, this is amazing. This is exciting. I said, really? So they met whenever it was. They mentioned it in February. They said, we're going to do it March 5th. Why would they do that? I asked, I said, just please, somebody convince me why you would give them a month's notice. Why? What's the purpose of that? Nobody could answer it because there's no logical reason why you would do that, except if you're trying to signal the cartel so they can move their operations someplace different. And then Arizona pretended, as we know, Katie Hobbs does. She pretends that she's going to do stuff, and she doesn't. That's the game she always played. Even her own Democrats are like, "You're not going to do anything. What are you talking about?" So what was interesting is the conversation came up about New Mexico, and that's why I'm saying it, because I was upset, and I said, guys, so look what they're doing in Texas, right? Everybody's talking about Arizona. Nobody is talking about New Mexico. And I said, nobody. I said,
I was going to say, yeah.
None of the conservative radio stations, nobody's talking about Mexico. And they said, Lewis, what do you think that means? I'll tell you what it means. I said, I can tell you that's where
it might be a spark, that kind of helped everybody else, get off of their butt. But no, that ended up, they ended up squashing that and moving it down. So, I mean, we see these swell ups of, populists, we the people rising up and saying, F you, I'm not playing the game anymore. But then we're not willing to go the distance, because to get to that point to where we break the system, there's going to be some pain involved. It's going to be uncomfortable, right? The Q talks about until you get to the precipice of destruction, you're not going to change. And what is that precipice? It's different for every single person, right? There's another saying that I like is until the pain of where you're at right now, until that pain is greater than the pain of change, then you're not going to change. There's going to be pain one way or another. So you might as well go through the pain, get what you need to do, get in that valley, grow, learn, dig, become the best human you can be. I think that's key, to break out of this whole situation. And then we can be willing to go through the pain. I mean, we've seen how many different convoys now. The People's Convoy, I was, in that one, the Take Our Border Back convoy. Those are great. They the People's Convoy was a couple of months. They had that fortitude, but eventually that waned and died down. You don't need a convoy. The truckers run every freaking thing. All they don't have to convoy, they don't have to blockade, do nothing, just to turn the trucks off. You turn the trucks off, you don't deliver nothing, everything shuts down, boom. But how long are we willing to go without? How long are we willing to go without? If we don't have power, food, how long are we willing to go? What are we willing to do to be able to take back our republic? Because it isn't gonna be easy. It's simple, but not easy. But it's going to require work, and it's going to require some testicular fortitude. You got to have some cojones, man, to be able to stand up and go the distance. Be willing to do what other people aren't willing to do. I mean, that's another in a lot of the different success and leadership training and stuff I have. I mean, if you're willing to if you want something that you've never had, you got to be willing to do something you've never done. Right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I mean, if we're going to go through this process and try to turn around our republic and then put a bunch of scumbags back in there to be our representatives, nothing's going to change.
Well, how are we going to, in this illegal immigration, number one, what can we do with that? And number two, I'm still wondering, after the election, I think Trump has said he'll send them all back. I can't figure out how.
It's the biggest mass deportation operation in the world. They're going to need to do that.
Well, how does that?
How? That's way above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I'll give you my 2 cents. I think it'll be through Space Force. I think they're tracking every single one of these people.
But there's
People don't talk about Space Force that much. And you notice the Biden administration has
They
never
mock it.
mentioned it one time.
Yeah.
But
So
it is huge. And it's not about outer space so much as about,
it's
com-
inner space, actually,
yeah,
is what it
inner
is.
space and the internet, but more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Starlink and all that. So they're tracking, they're giving them all cell phones.
Exactly. Well, they're all, the other way they're tracking them is they have to pick up their check, they have to pick up their gift cards, and all of a sudden they give them benefits now. So they are tracking them. I agree with that. And that's the beauty about what they're doing. Now, what if this is very esoteric? I beat up on the Nasara Jasara people enough that I'll tell you there may be something there also. If you're going to give people some type of money, some reparations, right? Just give it to them if they go back to their country, and then they will flood across the border. You don't have to do anything. Think about it. Everybody goes back there and gets $5,000, whatever it is. Do you know how fast they're going to flood over there? And then while they're flooding over, we're building a wall with a one-way door. You go that way. One day, cool, wall built. All right, now let's start and get everybody in worldwide on a level playing field, and let's see if we could all prosper together. So that may sound like a Pollyanna vision, but I think that could be a possibility also.
We got a question from Rumble. Fairlane 60 asked if anybody was having trouble with banks or ATMs. Anybody here locally having any issue with banks or ATMs?
I am not.
No, haven't heard it yet, but I'm sure we will.
I know my bank closed up a lot of branches in the last 3 years, and I only see it in parts of the country. So
it's good.
Yes, for the local audience, how have you noticed the banks having any issues?
And
the answer back to Rumble is that not at all, that they're not seeing the issues,
Not
at least
yet.
here in New Mexico at this time.
Yeah, not yet.
Sure, though.
My bank got sold to BMO, which is Bank of the West, and that was one of the safer banks because they said go to the smaller banks. It got sold to BMO, which is out of Canada, and they have digital currency as
Yes.
their deal.
Wow.
So I don't know if it's the good digital currency or the
I know,
bad.
and it's hard to tell right now, right? So it's the reality though is we're not going to get rid of tech. We may think it's going to go away, but it's going to go away. There's going to be a digital currency no matter what. I'm hoping and hopefully involved enough that we make sure that it's benevolent and not the counter. You know what I mean? But we have to watch it like a hawk. I mean, because I do not feel comfortable with digital currency at all. It scares the living hell out of me because that's an instant control mechanism like that. So we have to watch it. I think it may be inevitable, but hopefully it's the good guys, but we'll have to watch it.
You got a question?
I went through a time period where it was strategic. Every day it was every week. I'm sorry. I think it was a week of the day. Anyways, we saw a 200 chunk come off my followers. Another 200. Boop. And me and Robert were like, that's a coincidence, right? Then it lasted for a long time. 200, 200, 200, 200. So every time it went up, they chopped 200. Every time we're like, that's impossible. And it was right dead on. You can see it. It was at this number, 200, 200. So something being messed with. Now, the owner of Rumble said it 100% wasn't them. We're being attacked outside. I don't know who to believe anymore, to be honest with you. So all I know is we put the word out as much as we can. And there's only a few people here, but hopefully something resonates, something works, somebody online, maybe the tens of thousands of people that are watching, maybe something works there. I don't know, right? But we just have to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And the last thing we need to worry about is what our numbers are because they're all fake, phony, and false.
Like Dave from X22 says, got to give him the credit.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd love to hear the fake, phony, and false. I use that all the time.
So anybody that hasn't asked a question or because we have to start getting ready to go. Unfortunately, we have a long ride. You have something?
About the calendar, and I saw something, I can't remember now, but it was on Telegram that said the UN is adapting the 13-month calendar. Have you heard anything?
Haven't. That would be
I wish
interesting.
I could say where I saw it. It was on Telegram. I could probably go in and find it, but I
So,
What would really be behind that? I mean,
well, here's the thing, and this is where it's going to get confusing. Does everybody know that California is a deep state? Okay. 30 as ever can be, passing the worst laws in the world, right? Yet, they're the first and only state to ban all these chemicals in our food.
Oh, yeah.
It's not congruent, is it? I'm thinking, or maybe this is more hope for me, I'm hoping that slowly the good guys are starting to get in, and they're going to slowly turn things around, because if they turned everything around immediately, that's why this whole 3-day disclosure thing, I don't buy it. When we hear everything, you're just going to learn everything in 3 days or 10 days of darkness. I don't buy it, because the reality is the white hats, which I call the gray hats, are also lying to us. We have to be very clear, because this is part of their warfare in order to get things done. So they're lying to us, they're lying to everybody, and it's so messy. So if suddenly they disclose everything, now they're going to have a lot of people going, you've been lying to us the whole time, we're not happy with that. You pretended this and this, and a lot of people won't understand. So I have a feeling they're going to open up the disclosures and let we, the people, do it, and we'll have access to the real documents. So like immediately we'll say, clearly, Jim, and we're going to be on a level playing field. I believe that would be more palatable to the public anyways, because they're not going to say, oh, Trump, a Republican, is telling us, so we don't want to believe it. Does that make sense? So now I wish people get angry when I say that, and I would just say, just take your personal feelings away that you want it to happen right away, and think what's going to make a deeper impact. I think if they hand it to we the people, we have all the information, we're on a level playing field where we're not suppressed at all, and we'd have these conversations, and guess what? Everybody in this room, we and watching, we get to write the history books. That is really going to make a bigger difference than if the Trump team came out and just told us everything. It's a little bit harder, but I think it would be long lasting. And that's just my opinion again. And it could be, yeah, well, I think they are going to do a lot of disclosures. Clearly, I agree with you with that. I just don't think it's going to be wholesale. We're going to learn everything in a few days. And it wouldn't make sense, because there's still going to be a huge segment of the population that doesn't trust President Trump, right? They're going to, it's all lies. It's all lies. If they let the people do it, there's going to be people that are even on the other side that are going to start digging and finding information themselves. And then they're like, wow, look at this, right? So we'll see what happens. Let's go over FIA real quick. We just want to real quick. So we're building this website. Everybody here online, it's called Freedom in Action. Again, this whole thing is free. We're not going to try to charge you. Take your power back, because we have to remember they all work for us. All of these right here, they work for us. And we have to know that. We're the ones that control the message. They don't control the message. When we step up in our power, we already won. And in my math, it says about 0.1% of people have to understand this, and we already won. They can't handle the pressure. And there's proof out there in those numbers. Everybody can make a difference. The biggest thing that Bruce and I have heard, and other people that have worked with us on all these tours, is what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So we're working very hard in the background to give you the what can I do's. How to do everything on here. These will become links on the website where you can click and say, hey, this is how you can do this. This is how you can do this, right? This is how you can get involved. And we get ideas from the people all the time. So this list will probably get bigger. We're going to have to organize it. Thanks to Lisa Richards, who does a wonderful job on our websites putting this together. Now, this is really cool. This will be up very, very soon, and hopefully today, actually. Nope, tomorrow. Nope, it's in England where he's building it. So today, I'll be in contact with my guy to see how close we are at finishing this, because we're right there. So if you're going to be able to download the Freedom in Action app, what that is how you're going to be able to locate local patriots, see what they're doing, right? So you can say, GeoTarget, I want to know, are there any patriots within 10 miles from me? And are they having conversations, right? So you can connect with them. Now, some people say, oh, this is how the deep state can target us. No, you're not going to put your real name in there, right? It's going to be, I'm Fluffy 1017 or whatever it is, right? I definitely look like a Fluffy, don't I? So anyways, so you'll be able to find other people and then connect with them. But here's the cool thing. There's also an events tab on there. And on the events tab, it'll say, so what's going on within 25 miles from me? Or I'm willing to travel 50 miles. Boom. There's a Patriot meeting here, a Patriot meeting here, big event there. Boom, 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 boom. And then I think the kicker, and this is where we, the people, rise up and make a difference. Boom. Board of Supervisors meeting, Albuquerque, Mexico. Boom. They're talking about this. Let's get 1,000 people there. You can activate them now through this. In power is in the numbers. A school board meeting, right? School board meeting. You know what? We just found out they have porn in the library. They refuse to take it out of the library. Okay, let's go get 50 people over there right now. You don't have to be from the school district to talk. Get over there, put pressure on them because we've noticed the pressure works. Get it done. This app, I think, is a game changer for us. In addition to that, I kind of stumbled on something when I was looking at all the techie stuff behind it. We have it time and date stamps for us. So if you post a video or you post a picture, it's time and date stamped. How cool would it be if we can get 100,000, a discrepancy anywhere in the country? They go on here, time and date stamp. I've seen this right at my precinct, right? So it's real time. Everybody can see what's going on. And then you can even go, I want to check 4,000 miles. Let's check the whole country and look at all this stuff going on. Guess what this act says? This is a recorded real-time book of evidence that can be used, right? So I think it's very, very powerful. And you'll be able to find that on the app stores. We don't know how long it'll stay up, so we have a backup plan in the case. You can download it from our website, which is freedominaction.net, where you'll be able to find all of this. And we're working for free. Wow. We're done. So we're doing our best. I would like to do this. We're going to have, I'd like Andrew to end us in prayer, and then we're going to do something really special. We have a video that I was lucky enough to help produce, and the song and the video with Joe Rosati. Incredible, incredible work that he and Tenor did, and Kristen and KC and Kevin and Scott and Steve. I mean, I probably missed. There's so many people that were involved in really making this just wonderful. I'll take credit for most of the video. That was my brainchild, and for the idea of doing it. And I'll take credit for being an asshole that kept pushing them to do better and do better and do better. But for all the amazing work and in the lyrics and the singing had nothing to do with me. You would not want to hear me sing. So definitely had not to do with me. And then after that, just yesterday, we premiered Stephen Tenor's new song called Thank You. And his video, it's one of the most amazing. I just got the Truth Bumps. It's one of the most amazing songs and videos I've heard. And then followed up with that, we have a kind of a little montage of songs and work that we've done. God bless you. God bless everybody at work. I mean, watching. I know it's a lot of work to watch me. So God bless everybody at home. Enjoy your Sunday, or if you're watching this recorded, your Monday or Tuesday. And just know, guys, God's already done the work. We, the people, need to ante up and kick in, and we will reap the harvest. Let's watch To Unite. Oh, go ahead. You pray.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So before we hit the go button on that, awesome audience here. You asked great questions. You became more bold and more brave, even in a few moments